For millennia, humanity never really got their musical intonations right. Until now.
So what's with the grand intro? Does this new intonation called Cleantone Temperament really solve the problems of Just Intonations? After all those thousands of years of struggle? Well, yes. In fact, it has been proved mathematically, checked numerically, and implemented practically. And on all levels, from all angles, it just works like a charm. So buckle up, open your minds, and get ready for those open minds of yours to be blown. But before you can appreciate the solution, you first need to understand the problem. So let's back up a little and have a look at the blackboard, shall we? Imagine a tone with a certain frequency and a second tone with another frequency. These tones have an interval between them, and they sound nice together if the ratio of their frequencies simplifies to a quotient of small integers, like so, or like so. But if those integers don't get really small, then no dice. I will explain why this is so in the next video of this series, but not today. Today we need to get to the new stuff to Cleantone Temperament. You need to quickly see that this is indeed the real deal. So, for today, let's summarize. Intervals with frequency ratios of small integers sound clean and pure. This has been known for centuries, and it is what historical so-called just intonations are all about. So why don't we use them? Well, not for a lack of trying. Check this out. I am using Piano Tech here as a virtual instrument since this software allows retuning. It is a bit hidden, but here we go. As you can see, the tuning wheel is currently set to standard equal temperament, but I can change that, either freely or by using a preset. Let's select Just Intonation. Look at the tuning wheel. Every interval now has a nice frequency ratio. Listen how pure and clean small integer frequency ratios sound. However, there is a huge problem. It only works above the bass tone of the intonation. See, in our case, intervals above other tones are sometimes totally off, so you can't freely transpose and change keys. Here, listen. These are simple major triads above the notes of the C major scale. That surely won't fly, and it didn't. But you probably already knew that. That's why we had to give up those beautiful harmonic ratios and settle for the weak compromise known as equal temperament, where all intervals are slightly off. Right? Wrong! You can have beautiful harmonic intervals over every note. It is possible. Here, check this out. The same chords, but now in this new intonation called Cleantone Temperament. Each chord is just as pure and clean as the C major chord in Just Intonation. No difference at all. It doesn't matter above which tone it is played. It's perfect everywhere. And no, I did not cherry-pick those major chords. It works just as well with minor chords. Here a bit of Moonlight Sonata in C-sharp minor. no problems. Major or minor, everything works. And above C sharp, it's just as pure as above C, or anywhere else for that matter. Now, some of you might say, that's all very nice, but I've been listening, playing, and practicing in equal temperament all my life. I am so used to it, I still like it better. Well, let's see about that, shall we? I will play those same chords from before one more time in Cleantone Temperament, and then I will immediately switch to Equal Temperament and play them again. Oops, Equal Temperament sounds kind of broken now, doesn't it? Yep, this is how the cookie crumbles. Just a few seconds of Cleantone Temperament and a lifetime of getting used to Equal Temperament is out of the window. So now that you heard for yourself just how wrong Equal Temperament is, you will understand the suffering of the many whose ears constantly remind them of this, like Jacob Collier. See what he said here.
You know, on the piano, this is a G major chord, and the major third is actually 14 cents too high. So the correct one is like, it's like that out of tune. But like I realized this, and it's like, how does no one know this stuff, man? Like, it's crazy. It's like a hoax.
Yes, Jacob, exactly. And this problem is now solved. Your suffering ends right here. You can happily sing and play with instruments in Cleantone Temperament, and all thirds, major or minor, will be just and pure. And the fifths too, and the sevenths and the ninths, in fact, all stacks of thirds. Let that sink in for a moment. All thirds and stacks of thirds have their ideal pure frequency ratios above every tone. Can you imagine what this means for chords? Look, let's build a minor seventh chord. It starts with a minor third, which is pure, followed by a major third, which is also pure, then another minor third, which is pure again. But these are not the only intervals lurking in the chord. There is also a perfect fifth here. It's pure too, and another perfect fifth, which, you guessed it, is just as pure. Finally, there is a minor seventh right there. This also has its ideal just ratio. All intervals in the chord, no matter where they hide, have their ideal pure frequency ratios exactly as in Just Intonation. But in stark contrast to Just Intonation, this works everywhere. Not only above the bass tone C chosen for this example, but above every tone. Let's do the same for a dominant seventh chord. This starts with a major third followed by two minor thirds, all of them pure, of course. Then there is a perfect fifth, again pure. The two adjacent minor thirds combine to a diminished fifth, also called a tritone. This interval is intrinsically dissonant in any intonation, but it still has a decent ratio in Cleantone Temperament. And finally, there is the pure minor seventh again. As a last example, look at the major seventh chord. It's a stack of a major, a minor, and a major third, all of them pure. That implies two pure perfect fifths and a major seventh, which, like the tritone, is intrinsically dissonant. But it nonetheless does have its ideal ratio from Just Intonation. Adding more chord extensions is no problem at all. Let's add the ninth to our last chord, making it a major ninth chord. The additional intervals implied by this are a minor third, another perfect fifth, a minor seventh, and a major ninth. All of them having their pure ideal ratios. Even the major ninth has the absolutely beautiful 9/4. Just look at this. 10 intervals are lurking in this chord, and every single one of them has its ideal pure ratio from Just Intonation. Imagine playing music with chords like this, all of them clean and pure, above every tone, in any key, free transposition and modulation, just as in Equal Temperament. But the chords are finally clean. I know. You all have questions now. Some of you might just outright not believe this. After all, for centuries they told us that this is not possible. Didn't they? Yes, they did. Well, they were wrong. Look, all the questions coming to your mind right now, and a lot more which you haven't even thought of yet, are answered in my papers. Links in the description below. Here is the heart of the matter, the center of the storm, musical tonality. Over 500 pages of logic and math explaining everything. And here a much easier read. Detailed, practical, math-free instructions on how to actually tune and play your instruments in Cleantone Temperament. Yeah, sure, I know. 99% of you will never read any of this. That's why I make these videos. Each video explains some key aspects of Cleantone Temperament in simple terms without the math. So be sure to check out my other videos. I will explain everything, and you will understand it. Promise. But there is more. At the end of each video, I will play a well-known piece in this new intonation. Well-known is the kicker here. In contrast to many other attempts, like microtonality, Cleantone Temperament does not need any fancy new music. You can play anything with it. And it's almost shocking to finally hear your favorite music the way it should have sounded all along. So today let's start with perhaps the most well-known song of all time, Yesterday, by the Beatles. Wait, before I embarrass myself in front of the entire internet, a small disclaimer. I am a scientist, not an artist. My piano skills are mediocre at best, so please don't judge my performance. This is not about the presentation, it's about the intonation. Well, with this out of the way, let's hear how Yesterday sounds on the piano when all thirds, fifths, and sevenths are finally perfectly pure and clean. Shall we? Enjoy the chords. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what Yesterday sounds like in Cleantone Temperament. Somebody go and tell Paul McCartney about this. Of course, now you might want to compare this to how it would normally sound. I've got you covered. I have uploaded the exact same song played in standard Equal Temperament, links at the end and in the description below. You might want to open both videos in 2 browser windows and jump back and forth between them to directly compare the sound. Let me know in the comments if you can hear the difference and which one you like better. Granted, this is a rather simple song with relatively standard chord progressions and minimal key changes, only to the relative minor, which has the same notes. But Just Intonation still cannot handle this, even when tuned to its bass tone, F. For instance, G major wouldn't work. Neither would E minor, let alone A major with its C sharp. But I hear you. Therefore, in the next video, we're going to raise the bar quite a bit. We will play We Are the Champions by Queen. This does have some crazy chord progressions and wild key changes. None of them will be a problem for Cleantone Temperament. And, even more importantly, we'll start explaining things, making sure you really understand what's going on here, with Cleantone Temperament as well as with musical intonations in general. So be sure to check out the next video in this series. See you there!